Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Financial Deviant podcast. This is our first episode, and we are extremely excited about what's in store for us. So we're going to have a lot of fun. Hopefully, we're going to learn some things that are going to help us to move a little further along in our financial journey. You know, usually when someone uses the word deviant, it's not necessarily a compliment. It often has a negative connotation, and that's okay. But in this case, when you combine the word deviant with financial, those two words together convey a message that I think we all should aspire to. So let's just kind of jump into some of the basics. When you're talking about things that are financial by definition, financial literacy to be specific. And we're talking about having the willingness, the ability, the skills to effectively manage our finances, including things like budgeting and investing and debt management, or even better, debt elimination, those kinds of things. So you combine that with deviant and you have something to aspire to, because this podcast is, quite frankly, an extension of conversations that I'm having consistently with individuals. It is about people having questions and some things that they don't quite understand about the financial world, specifically the personal financial world. Again, this title, Financial Deviant, is absolutely intentional. You know, you think about it, management or lack of management of our personal resources is a source of a lot of things that are not good about our personal lives. The people who live with and sleep with a significant amount of stress. A significant part of that stress is often related to personal finances. And of course, things happen that are out of people's control. And quite frankly, that is one of the things, the reason, or one of the primary reasons to make some adjustments as to how we deal with our money, is because we can't predict what's going to happen tomorrow. When you start talking about that, you start thinking about things like emergency funds that help to absorb those unknowns that are going to happen to all of us. No one is exempt. Even that is a part of this financial journey, having some resources put back in order to absorb those unexpected challenges that we all come up against. But when you're talking about personal finances, it's also about being a good steward. Being a good steward over whatever resources you're given or you've been blessed with. It's also about increasing our ability to be generous. It is not just about us as individuals, me and mine. You get what I can get and can it all and hold it all. And it is not about that at all. People who have resources have the ability to be generous and to help other people. That's a huge part of this. And another part is I really want to help people to make some good decisions as far as when they transition out of the workforce, to be able to retire with dignity, to be able to retire with peace, to be able to retire and sleep at night without having to go find another job unless you want to. And that is absolutely something that a lot of people do, not necessarily because they have to, but they want to. The idea is to have flexibility and to have options that allow us to live our lives the way we want to do it. So there are various facets of this whole process. You know, I heard a saying some time ago when it said that we're born looking like our daddy, but we die looking like our decisions. A truer statement has never been made. I believe that I believe in the imago Dei. I believe we are made in the image of God, meaning we have the ability to make decisions. We have the ability to change directions. We have the ability to improve our thinking with better information. We are not programmed and mindless to the point that we can't change directions. And that's exactly what it takes many times when it comes to money, because a lot of what we've been taught, a lot of what we've learned, a lot of what we've just kind of bumped into in the process of our living has not been beneficial to our financial well-being. The information that we have, that we take in, is absolutely critical. So my hopes is that on this journey, we can help you get some better information. And quite frankly, it's information that I have used personally. And I don't want to give anyone the impression that I've somehow got it all figured out. I am on a journey, just like everybody else. I am trying to make decisions to make my situation better, make my family's situation better, to improve our financial lives, to take away some of the stresses that can come along with that. So we're all on this journey, and I just think it's great when people who think alike or want to head in the same direction can get together, because we can gain strength one from the other. That is very important. You know, it's one thing to be weird. It's one thing to be strange. And make no mistake about it, there's some things we'll talk about that will make you look strange to your family and to your friends. Because one thing is for sure, as financial deviants, we have no interest in being like the masses. Because quite frankly, the masses are not in great shape. Every piece of research and data you see conveys this message, or conveys the idea that the masses are not in great shape financially. So we have no interest in falling in line and going with the current. I used the word weird a minute ago. What do I mean by weird? Well, one thing, I can talk about my own generation. I'm a Gen Xer. My generation has the highest average debt of any other generation. It's around $140,000. My generation is sending their kids to college while still paying off $45,000 of their own student loan debt. There's some interesting information out there, according to the census in 2021. Now, I know that's 2021, but you know, the census doesn't come out every year, so we have to get the data that's available. In 2021, the average household income was $70,784. That's $5,898 a month. The average car payment, $667 for a new car and $515 for a used car. In that same year, the average savings rate for the average household, or the average American, was 7.4%, or $436 a month. So let's unpack this. The median household income was $70,784, or $58.98 a month. The average car payment, $667. That is 11.3% of the monthly gross income. 11.3. The used car was $515. That's 8.7% of that median monthly household income. The savings rate, 7.4%, or $436 a month. So you see, without even thinking about it, we are putting more money into a depreciating asset than we are putting in savings and investments. Without even thinking about it. I'm sure most people are not even doing the work to understand where their money is going. But that vehicle that is depreciating, as soon as you drive it off the lot, we are putting more of our monthly income into that. And I hesitate to call it an asset because it's actually not appreciating in value. But we put more money into a vehicle than we do in savings and investments on a monthly basis. That is the kind of stuff I'm referring to. We talk about financial literacy. When you take a step back and look at it, that really makes no sense. That really makes no sense. And of course, any discussion about personal finance or financial literacy has to include some verbiage about debt. In 2021, Experian conducted a review of consumer debt and discovered the average American credit card balance is $5,221. That doesn't mean someone charged $5,221 on their credit card and paid it off. That is a balance. That means people are paying interest, which may be 16, 17, 18, 20, 22%, 23% interest. You're paying that kind of interest on a credit card, and at the same time, we're contributing only 7.4% of our income to savings and investing on a monthly basis. You see how it looks when you put all this stuff together? It really starts to paint a picture of maybe our priorities are not in the right place. In that same Experian review, it said the average car loan amount was $21,000. And there's also the average personal loan amount was $17,000. Meanwhile, the average American savings account had a balance of $4,500. You see, we have to make better decisions about what we're doing with our money in order to allow ourselves to head in a more positive direction. The average debt of Americans is growing. It's diminishing net worth, and it's diminishing financial security in the process. That is what the financial deviant is about, to pull out of that kind of captivity and make decisions that allow us to build wealth for ourselves and, more importantly, for our families. If you're not careful, you'll start to believe that there's no point in trying to fight this stuff. There's no point in trying to fight against the current, but that is absolutely not the mindset we should have. Because the thing is, it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. Those are two different things. We often know what to do. We just have to be willing and disciplined enough to fight against the stuff we see going on around us. What it takes is a focus on changing our behaviors, some of which will make us appear strange to friends and family, like I said earlier. What it takes is developing a plan and working like crazy to stick to it, to the point where your friends are concerned about you because you're not interested in going out to eat. You're more interested in paying off your debt. What it takes is a focus on building wealth instead of looking wealthy. It is so enticing to spend more on your car than on your retirement accounts. That's what's happening. I just shared the numbers to prove that. That is exactly what's happening. And one of the reasons is because people often make judgments about you and me based on what we're driving or what we're wearing. But they can't see your savings and investment accounts. So a lot of times it's more about people's perceptions of us rather than us being more interested in making decisions that are going to benefit our financial lives. You have to know why you're doing what you're doing. You have to know that there's a better and a bigger plan. You cannot be swayed by every wind that blows. You can't be swayed by every commercial that comes on that says you're not complete if you're not wearing this, eating this, driving this, smelling like this, or whatever the case may be. You have to know that you have a plan that's ultimately for your benefit. And it's not even really, some of this stuff is not really mysterious. There's some things we're going to get into that I know for a fact that people have some trepidation about, more specifically things having to do with investing and kind of demystifying that whole thing. We'll get into that a little bit. So that there's some knowledge there, but even that, it's not rocket science. There's just so much information out there that sometimes people are paralyzed by the amount of information, but even that is not difficult. The bottom line is we just have to pay attention to it. There's an adage in business that says, what gets measured gets done. What gets measured gets done. And if you're not paying attention to what you're doing, to what every dollar in your wallet is doing, then you really don't have control, and you're just kind of going along for the ride. And hey, listen, I've been there. I'm not even trying to sound like it's I'm some kind of special person. I've absolutely been there until I woke up and realized that this stuff isn't going to happen just by a cloud coming together and putting it all together for me. It's not going to work out. I have to put some effort in here, and I have to be disciplined enough to not be swayed by what everybody else is doing. One of the things I mentioned earlier is the idea of retiring and retiring with dignity. There's a lot of research out there, and one of the biggest regrets that people have regarding retirement is they simply regret not saving enough. And they will tell you they got so caught up in living their lives and buying this and buying that and, looking a certain part that retirement was not even on their radar. And all of a sudden they woke up and they're 40 and 50 years old, and suddenly something happens and it hits them. You know what? I have blown a lot of time. Related to that regret is the people who regret not starting earlier. So they're kind of one and the same. But because if you start early in your 20s, you can save 10, 15% of your income and be fine by the time you get ready to retire. In many cases, depending on how long you work, you can literally have $1 million in investable assets if you start at that age. But as you get older, 35, 40, you have to save more money in order to live the same way that 20-year-old would live, and he only had to devote 10 or 15% to it. And also, speaking of retirement, I'll just throw this in there. People always talk about what's your number and how much do I need? What's my retirement number? But there's not as much discussion about expenses, because how much you need in retirement is going to be totally related to what your expenses are. And do this for me, all my friends listening, do this for me. At the point where you are approaching, considering, giving thought to retiring, please, please, please pay off the mortgage. Think about that. If you retire and you have some, whether it's a 401k, 403b, 457b, traditional IRA, Roth IRA, whatever your case may be, REITs, or whatever the case may be, if you have money invested that is bringing you $20,000 a year in passive income. Combine that with your PIA or your Social Security benefit, and you have no debt. Specifically, you have no mortgage. You will be fine. But when you retire with a mortgage, it's just an added weight that you got to pull along with you. That's just one little piece of advice I want to give you on this first episode is, if you're approaching that retirement age, please pay off the mortgage. Pay off the mortgage. Think about this. Think about this scenario. And again, this is not for my younger listener. This particular piece is for those who are nearing a retirement age, or whatever age you plan to retire. Think about this. You've got, again, investable assets that are growing, because one thing people misunderstand is just because you retire doesn't mean you pull every bit of your money out of the market. You just have a more conservative mix of a more conservative asset allocation, more fixed income versus equities or stocks. So you still have money invested even when you retire. It's just a more conservative portfolio. But if you're able to retire, you got your portfolio kicking off $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 a year. Combine that with your Social Security, your PIA, and I got a lot of friends and family who are educators. Combine that with your pension. That is a great place to be, especially, as I said, if you don't have a mortgage. Right? You think about that. You can relax. You can live your life. You can transition to whatever you want to do in your second life after you retire from your primary employment. That's a great place to be. And that's what I'm trying to get people to. Hey, that's what I'm trying to get to. As I said, I haven't arrived anywhere. I'm on a journey, but I have changed directions to the point where I can see the benefit of decisions I made years and years ago that's now allow me to say, oh, okay, now I see why all that sacrifice paid off. And trust me, it did take some sacrifice. I know this is going to be a great time. This is going to be a lot of fun as we get into future episodes of the Financial Deviant podcast. Looking forward to having some amazing guests. Looking forward to having some interviews with some people that you'll want to hear from. We're just going to have a great time. And you know something? I really, really am passionate about this topic because there are just so many people who didn't think about this stuff until it was too late. And it can be a pretty sad situation. It can be such a sad situation. And a lot of times it's people who made good money while they were working. But it never crossed their mind that there should be a priority on saving for tomorrow. It never crossed their mind. Well, let me say this. It didn't cross their mind before it was very late in the game. That's one of the reasons I'm as passionate about this, because as people get older and they're either not interested in working anymore or in many cases can't work anymore, we want to have assets that allow us to take care of ourselves, pay people if we have to help us live our lives, just have the resources in place to help us, as I said, retire with dignity. That's one of my biggest focuses. Guys, I hope you will share this podcast. This is just like the introductory episode. Give you an idea of what we're going to talk about, what we're going to get into. Got a lot of really great things in store for you. And I just need you to share. I need you to help me build a community of deviants. If you can help me build a community of deviants, we can change the direction of a lot of people's lives and help them to make decisions that absolutely and significantly improve their financial lives. So until next time, this is the Financial Deviant saying so long and can't wait to see you again.